doesn't matter what you're going through
or what you have been through. Thank God is fabulous. I'm Welda Paley.
And I'm Fasia Hilton.
Welcome.
Thank God is fabulous.
Male nurses.
Patient comfort, values, and beliefs.
Thank God is fabulous. What is cancer? What is your perception of cancer?
Well, today our guest will be sharing her story on living with cancer.
Thank God is fabulous.
Friendship. What is a true friend? He's my friend. She's my friend. Can a male and a female be true friends?
What are the benefits of friendship? Are there true friends with benefits or not? How do you know somebody is a friend? What are the criteria? What are the requirements to have a friend?
Thank
God is fabulous.
Well, today we are going to be talking about career choices.
Do you make career choices based on your habits, or things you love, or what's trending, or what would be your livelihood?
Is it going to be vocational or is it going to be higher education? What's your choice?
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Thank God is Fabulous. I'm Professor Welder Paley. Joining me later on will be my co-host, Ms. Fasia Hilton. We have another death in our community. Uh, we lost a brother, Mr. Wade, and we are asking the community again to please come to our rescue to bury our brother. You know, when it rains, it doesn't fall on one man's house. So, because of that, you help somebody today, somebody will help you tomorrow. We know we just had a loss in our community and we buried the brother. We got another one. Maybe it's our time to go through our struggles and pain, but we know there's better days ahead. So we never let what we are going through get us down. But we stand firm, we stay strong, and we hold together until we bury this brother. So the bereaved family, we want to say take heart. He has a young wife and two small kids. That's a lot for that family to lose at this time. Kids gonna grow up without daddy, already after forming the knowledge of knowing him. So we gotta keep them in prayers. Continue to pray with them, pray for them, visit them, and of course, give, you know, what our heart and hands can afford so that you're not upset after giving. Okay. So let's remember the Wei family tonight as they go through their time of loss. It's a difficult time, but we ask God to remember them, give them strength to go through this, and bring them to a better place. Of course, He always knows what's best. And as humans, it's hard for us to understand. When we have loss, it's hard because we on this earth and we make it our home. We don't regard it as a passing ground where we just go through and trying to get to the other side. So when we leave to go home, we feel the loss that the person is gone, but the person is going home. Everybody wants to go home. The only sad thing about going home is you can't take yourself there. You have to be called. And when you're called, there's no, I'm not ready. I will think about it. Or later on, call me back and check with me. No. When you are called, you are called. It's now. It's, unless the one who gave you the breath decide, okay, I'm going to send you back. Then we say, oh my God, this person went through a near death, but the person came back to us. It's only God, His own infinite mercy, His time that makes that happen. But when He called, we say, yes, Master. Yeah, I come. Can't even give you a chance to be sluggish about it. So we'll just continue to remember the family at this time of their loss. I was talking about Brother Wade and the loss we got in the community again. So, Fasia, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and then chime in before we go into our discussion for today.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy March 1st. My name is Fasia Hilton, your co-host. And as you've already said, today we are going to be speaking on sickle cell.
Mm-hmm.
And this really hits home. We lost a niece to sickle cell a few weeks ago. And, looking back, I was driving today and I said, oh my goodness, we should have, could have, would have, you know, we procrastinated. I spoke to her mom, and we were supposed to bring her on, to discuss about this and to discuss her charity about Sickle Cell, her foundation, her Sickle Cell Foundation that she has. But unfortunately, we are speaking about it after her demise. So this really hits home, and but we will do our best to shed light on it.
Yeah.
And also, as you said, our community is also bereaved. So our condolences to the family as well.
Yeah. It's just all around a very sorrowful time.
It
And
is. It's,
sorrowful time for the topic we're discussing and how close to home it is for us. And sorrowful time because our community got another loss. But through it all, we just have to be strong and let God. That's when we
yes.
lean on Him.
Just
So
to let
today we're
him.
talking about sickle cell.
Mm,
What is sickle cell? So let me put a little short caps on there. Now, sickle cell is not contagious. Before some of y'all start running away from people like that person ain't got sickle cell, I don't want to be bothered with them. No, it's not contagious. It's an inherited condition, which means you can only get it from one or both of your parents. Okay, it's passed down. So it's like everything else. Like you see on there, it says the color of your eyes, your color of your skin, the color of your hair. Those things that you cannot change is one of those things. So before you go ask your parent why you're giving sickle cell, then you should just go back now. And because everything else about you will be questioned. But that's it there. You can't catch it from nobody. Nobody can throw it on you in which. Because I know us, everything tends to be a wish. My child was healthy. I don't know what happened. Yes. Yes. A child born with sickle cell can't look healthy from the beginning. But when test is done and completed, you start to see changes in that child. It's not witch. Nobody throw witch on our child. So let's take that out of the
no.
book. You know, by marital laws, before you get married, you're supposed to do a sickle test. The couples are supposed to do it because a
Yes.
lot of times people got the trait and they don't know they even have it. So if you didn't know you have it because you never experienced any condition of it, you don't know that you're going to pass it on. And if your partner doesn't know they have it, you don't know you're going to pass it on. And now when both parents carry the trait, they may not show signs of the disease. But occasional fatigue, tiredness, and if they traveled because of high altitude, they might experience some joint pain. They will say, "Oh, I sat in the plane for a long time. Oh, my joints hurting me." But that's not the way it's supposed to happen, you know. So people, we always tend to find something that we can put, you know, into the space to say this is the reason why this happened, and then we dismiss important things. So if you ever traveled on a long flight, altitude affect sickle cell
Oh, yes.
because sickle cell carries hemoglobin, and that hemoglobin is what is tampered with when you're up in the air. So if you're a sickle person and you have the trait, you will experience some difference when you travel. That's just one way to let you know, let me go see the doctor and do some tests. Or else you'll never know. And it's important to know because you're going to pass it to somebody else. You know, when you have information, you can make informed decision about what you want to do because there are chances if the both parent carry the trait, there's a 25% that your children will have the disease, or 25% that they will have not the disease, and a 50% chance to be carriers. So, you know,
Yep.
that's the probability. So when you start having children, just know that if you have the trait, it's going to come out one way or the other. That's why they say before you get married, you and your husband go and you'll do your test so you can know where you stand, so that if you got the trait, then you can go ahead and decide how you're going to do family planning, you know. Because sometimes your first child comes up full blown affected.
Hmm.
Take the trait from both mama and papa, they got a disease. Your second child come up, nothing, but they got the trait. Your third child come up, nothing, but they got the trait. Now the last one out of the group might come up with nothing, no trait, no disease, no nothing. But that's genetics. So it's very important to know this and apply it to your life. If you haven't started having children and you're planning, you're in the family way. I like that when people say you're in the family way. More than likely you've gotten married or you're searching. These are things you need to look at. Not just if the man is able to take care of you, because that's the only thing we'll be looking for. Is he financially stable? Is he able to take care of me? You need to find out that part. You know, what kind of genes does he carry? And they do gene testing. They can tell you what kind of genes he more than likely to pass on to his offspring or you to your offspring. This go both way, man and woman. You need to check. So at least you have an idea of what you are up against. Now, we used to have a myth that sickle cell was only black people. That's a myth. 90% black, but other race, European, Asian, they carry this gene too. So it's not just black people. So if you ever thought about that, think about it again. Because there's a story I heard of a girl who got married to a white guy, a Caucasian, and they had their child, and the baby was sickle. He swore to everything that that baby could not be his because the baby had sickle cell. So the doctor said, well, there's no problem. We can always run tests. He said, but why you run tests on me? I don't have it in my gene. Well, don't worry about it. We'll check it. Because maybe you're not even the descent that you think you are. If you are European descent, bah, there you go. You stand a high chance of having the trait. Until he got tested, he said, "Man, that can't be possible." And that was what the mom was running from. She decided she was not going to marry a black man because she knew she had a gene, the carrier gene. So she like, I'm not going to mess with no black man because at least if I just got a gene, my husband has nothing, more than likely my child would just have the gene too and just be a carrier. They will not have to suffer the full-blown disease. But later did she know that the husband had the gene as a carrier. So two of them come together, full-blown disease. So sometimes we run away from things that are inevitable, but you can change that if you check, just to know for your own understanding. Okay. So, Fasia, if you want to go ahead and throw light on the disease itself.
Sure. Whew. You know, I was refreshing last night,
Mm.
and it really it hit me. But let's just dive into what what is sickle cell anemia, which is also called sickle cell disease. Like you said, it is an inherited disorder that affects the red blood cells in our body.
Mm-hmm.
So one might say, what is the red blood cells? So your red blood cells are normally shaped like a round donut, okay? Or you know when you're doing a donut and you cut, you know, the hole in the donut, that little ball that's there, donut ball that's left, or what we call color, you know, it's round and small like that. And those red blood cells are very, very pliable, meaning they're very flexible. They're able to squeeze through the blood vessels. I'm just trying to explain it, you know, for the layman man to understand. So these red blood cells, they're flexible, and they're able to squeeze through the capillaries and the blood vessels to carry oxygen throughout the body, throughout your organs. Okay,
Yeah.
but people with sickle cell, those red blood cells, they're not as round as the normal blood cells. They are what we call crescent shape. Okay, like a moon, a half moon shape.
A half moon shape.
Okay, yes, and they are not very pliable. And so instead of them squeezing through the blood vessels or your capillaries, they get stuck on the wall of the blood vessels. And so then the blood is not, you know, it's the hemoglobin is supposed to carry oxygen throughout the body. You're not able to your red blood cell is not able to carry oxygen throughout the body.
No
Okay.
flow.
And so, yes, what happens is these crescent shape hemoglobin, now, like I said, it gets stuck onto the blood vessels. So then they create problem.
Yeah.
Some of the problems be blood clot because they make the blood very sticky. They stick
Yeah.
on the wall. It blood
Very
clots.
thick. Yeah.
Yes. And also because the tissue is starving, it causes severe pain.
Yep.
That's one of the major complications of sickle cell,
Yep.
is that this will cause severe pain. And
Yeah.
also because you're not getting enough oxygen. Now, let me backtrack. Our normal red blood cells, you know, they're made and then they're regenerated every 120 days.
Yep.
But because of these abnormal cells, so they're regenerating faster, like every 20 to 28 days.
Yeah. They're
Okay.
dying off.
So our bone marrow cannot keep up with it. Okay. So it's like your body is fighting against itself. And like I said, you know, it causes a whole lot of pain.
Yeah. Mm.
And so these people, you know, before I go into detail, some of the causes of this is that, like I said, you know, they clump up, they cut off oxygen to healthy tissue, they delay normal growth patterns, you know, and it can cause fatigue and severe pain. So in when I said delay normal growth pattern, most people with sickle cell, when you see them, they're thinner most times, and they even look younger than their age.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know it affects your normal growth pattern.
Yeah.
So one might say, what causes sickle cell anemia? Like I said, like we said, this is an inherited disease. It is not contagious. You get it from either parent. And like you said, in the perfect world, if you are dating someone or you're going to get married to this person and you guys going to have a family, we are supposed to do a blood test to check to see if one of us carry the disease or carry the trait. But 9 times out of 10, we don't do that.
We are in love.
Because even not only that we're in love, but no one wants to think that they are a carrier, especially if you are healthy, you don't have any symptoms. So that doesn't come to mind.
That's so funny, Fasia. Today, after I was going all through this thing with sickle cell, I started thinking, I said, but my hand's always cold and I'm always cold. Do I have the trait? Like nursing school, everything you learn, you thought you had it. Oh, Lord.
Yeah. So what causes this sickle cell anemia? Like you said, if 2 parents carries the trait and they decide to have a child, there's a 25% chance that one of the kid will have the disease.
Yeah.
And it can be your first, it can be your second, or what have you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. And then 50% of them will carry the trait. And then one of them will not have the disease.
Yeah.
So if I carry the trait, which is the hemoglobin S, and my husband carries the trait, a hemoglobin S, that's a high possible, depending on how many children we have, either the first one will come up with it or the second one will come up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most times from what I've seen, I don't know, I haven't read a statistic, but most times the first.
Yeah, the first child takes the effect of the disease, and then the secondary and tertiary comes with the trait. And then if you have a last one, they will come on normal. I put a square now.
Yes. So some of the we'll go into signs and symptoms. Do you have signs and symptoms?
So,
but
before we go to signs and symptoms, I know people will still be wondering, but how did I even get the trait, or how did I even get the gene? So you see how you breathe every day, you take in and you give out. When you take in oxygen, it's your red blood cells that pick up that oxygen and carry it to your cell, your hemoglobin part. Now, whenever your hemoglobin part picks up that oxygen and deliver it and come out like they went in, that's normal cell. But sickle cell can't do that. Whenever they drop oxygen off there, they shrink. They become sickle. Because it's like the O2 that is attached to them makes them look like they are whole. But soon as they drop it for the body to use it, they become sickle again. That's how they die so fast. They die off so fast. And they clump together because of their shape. But if you're thinking about it, if you have to breathe, that metabolism. And once you're alive, you have to do it. So can you imagine while you are breathing and passing around, their body is doing changes in there every time they take that air in and they expel it. So think about it.
So true.
So you say you wanted us to go to some of the symptoms?
Yes, we can go to some of the symptoms, and I will just read what I have here. And
okay.
This
so some of the biggest symptoms that you will see when a baby is born, we say, oh, the baby got jaundice. That's the first sign that tells you to check that background to see where you are. Because that jaundice is the bilirubin in the blood, not being fully taken in by the liver. So after a couple of days of the baby's birth, maybe a day or two, the baby eyes will get yellow. That is the jaundice coming on. This is just due to hemoglobin and the changes. Now, not necessarily because a baby had jaundice from birth mean they got sickle cell or sickle cell trait, but that's an impetus for you to check because it's not supposed to be that way. So if it happened that way, you need to check it. Another thing that happened to them is, like Fasia said, pain. Oh my God, pain is their daily way of life. And the tired, fatigue is another one because your blood flow is your life source. And it is not flowing like it should. You will be tired. Your blood cells make you warm. When they're not flowing like they should, you're cold all the time. Just check. Most times, the number of red blood cells needed to carry the capacity of hemoglobin for your body to receive it adequacy for you to be like, I can do this. A sickle can't do that like that. It takes a lot for them to be able to even do physical or strenuous exercise. Because when they do that, you give up more oxygen than usual. You burn a lot in metabolism. They take a hit to the red blood cells. They go through a lot of changes with that. You know, I got a patient on dialysis and he's a sickle. And Fasia, by the time his blood pressure dropped, I racing him back. I ain't even waiting to say I'll keep you around until, because when he crashed, 911 is the only thing that can revive that boy. So
Wow.
it's like by the time his blood pressure start dropping while he's on the machine, and with dialysis, we're taking the blood out of you and cleaning it.
Mm-hmm.
By the time his pressure starts to go low, we rinse him back, we give him fluids, let him rest.
Yes.
Because we know it won't take long for him to go into one of those crises. And when he go into those crises, he spend days in the hospital, So when you have somebody who has the disease, it takes a lot. It takes
does,
a lot.
yes.
Yeah. It's a lot on the parent. It's a lot on the child. It's a lot. Even those who have the trait sometimes have occasional problems, but theirs is not as bad as the person who have the full-blown disease. Okay. And they are very prone to infections.
Very.
So they have a lot to deal with. If you ask me, they are one of the bubble kids. Keep them away from everything that is contagious because they get sick so quickly. They catch everything that's passing their way. Because your white blood cells are your fighting cells, right? A particular group of them are there to fight. But they are also a member of the blood cells. So if we got sickle among the red group, that affects the white group too. So all those things they have to deal with.
Yeah, so I would just piggyback off of the signs and symptoms. Symptoms can present in infancy and in babies as early as 2 months, 2 to 3 months old. Most times between 2 to 3 to 6 months old. And these babies, they will have painful, red, swollen hands and feet, and they will be very, very fussy. No matter what you do to soothe them, I mean, you feed them, you try to cradle them, they will keep being fussy and just crying, excruciating, because they're in excruciating pain.
Yeah.
Okay. And that symptom for the children, we call it the hand and feet, syndrome. Okay. Swollen hands and feet. And then children with sickle cells, like I said, they have delayed puberty. Their growth is delayed, and they often look younger than their actual age.
Yeah.
Also, other signs and symptoms include the severe anemia, difficulty breathing at times. They will have chest pain, they have what we call acute chest syndrome. Okay, so most times with this acute chest syndrome, most times these patients are prone to pneumonia.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just because of the vasal occlusion in the pulmonary arteries.
Yep.
Okay,
And that's where the exchange happened in the alveoli. So
yes. And then they have poor oxygenation, and they will have severe debilitating bone pain. You know, they will have pains in their knees, in their joints. I mean, severe pain. And
yes.
there's other major complications they can have. They can have like what we call a myocardial infarct
Yep.
or heart attack. They could have
Yep.
stroke because of the clumping of the blood. You know, it causes blood clot, and it can lead to stroke. They can have the kidneys can fail. They can have what we call a kidney infarct. They
Yep.
can have spleen or splenic infarct as well. And these
Yeah,
people,
because the
these
spleen is the
patients,
graveyard already of the red blood cells, and theirs is doing
yes,
so fast.
so fast, yes. And so these people, most times, when you if you were to just do a chest X-ray on them or scan, most times you will see that the spleen is enlarged, what we call
Yeah.
splenomegaly.
Yeah.
Okay, so and it can be risky because sometimes, you know, let's just say if a kid doesn't know that they have the disease, you know, and
They
they
just
they
want to be
play
a kid. They
sports,
want to go play.
yeah, and they're playing sports, and that spleen is enlarged. That's a high risk if they're playing, you know,
Yeah.
high impact sports
Yeah.
like basketball. I mean, they can do swimming. That's a low impact sport, you know.
Yeah.
But if they're doing, you know, high impact sport like basketball, and they get hit in the spleen area, their spleen can
Yeah.
rupture, and the
So
spleen is
true.
very
So
vascular,
true.
meaning there's
Yeah.
a lot of blood supply, you know. And also because the spleen is affected, you know, the spleen, what the limb, the way I'll explain it is it filters out infection.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, you know, so if it's not working properly, they also will be prone to infection.
Yeah, so true. So true. And they are prone to meningitis,
Yeah,
hepatitis, influenza. Oh, when flu season comes, they just be ready because it's like
yeah,
anything goes for them. Anything. Eye problem, wound that won't heal. Because can you imagine? All our nutrients is in the blood, right? And protein is one of those heavy molecule that regenerate tissues. So when they are being traveled through the blood to get to wherever place. So if they got a wound, it's hard to heal because protein is the one that's carrying all the nutrients to heal the wound. And protein is a macromolecule. So it's not going like it should because you know we need a flow now. And sickle, we just want to hug each other and be in love. So we'll just
that's
make a
it.
chain. We call it polymerization. They just make a chain with each other and they just hug up and ain't going nowhere because now they made a chain, you know.
Yes,
And these
there's
people
one.
have to live with. That's why as soon as they get to the hospital, we giving
We know.
them, we're taking care of pain, we're giving fluids and everything, trying to get it to get a flow again. It's tough. It's tough, you know.
It
And
is. It is. And you know, there's with men with sickle cell. That's one point I want to one symptom I want to point out. You know,
mhm,
men with sickle cell disease, they can get what we call priapism. Okay,
yep,
this
yep,
is an abnormal, often painful erection in the
yep,
absence of sexual intercourse
yep,
or sexual desire. They're not
yep,
even thinking about it, and they can get an erection.
yep.
Now, here's the thing about it. This erection can last for hours and can lead to permanent damage.
Oh yes,
So this is an emergent case. You
yes.
have to send them to the ER right away. If not, if it is not taken care of within
Yep.
certain time span, they can have permanent damage.
It's like taking Viagra and you ain't got no woman.
Yes. So and it's very painful, just as painful as the bone pain that they experience. And I
Yep.
mean, these patients are in look, the pain is so excruciating that most times they're in a fetal position.
Yep.
That's how painful it is.
It is painful. It is very painful.
So,
The
so
joints,
painful.
everything. I mean, it's painful. Everything about it is painful. It's a tough disease. It's a tough disease.
It is. It is. It's a very, very tough disease.
Hmm.
So we've already touched on, who gets sickle cell anemia. It's more prevalent in the Black population.
Yeah.
The Blacks, the
90%.
Hispanics, the Caribbeans, people from the Caribbean, people
Yeah.
from, uh, Pacific Asia, like India, because of the melanin, they're dark on the darker side.
Yep.
Okay. But you can also get it, like you said, that's a myth that people think that it only happens to Blacks. No, no, it can happen to any race.
Yep.
Okay. It's also prevalent in people of the Mediterranean, like people in Greece. It's prevalent. It's just more common, especially the African population. The Blacks is more prevalent in our population.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
one of our biggest blood diseases, sickle cell. So it's just like because a particular group of people is more prevalent, people think they are the only one who can get it. No, that's not true.
It's not
That's
true.
not true. Yeah. And one of the things I will point out to those who know is this part. Every day of a sickle life is a sickle's life. It's not because they're not in pain or because they're not in a crisis state means that they are okay. They are never okay. The disease itself, remember how I told you about the breathing? And every time you breathe, something happens to them on the inside. And they got to breathe all day long, 24/7. Something happens. And over time, the disease is progressive. Over time, it causes a lot of damage. Causes a lot of damage. And I think there was a study report I was reading. It was talking about the highest age range that a full-blown sickle can reach is maximum 28 to 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But most of them are cut off between 25 and 24. But think about it, that's a long time to deal with this thing, that dealing with something that you need it. You need your blood source. That's your life source. And then you got a problem. And then you got to fix it all the time. You got to fix it every day. It has a lot of impact on them over time. So if you're a parent and you have a child who is sickle, you have to have some mercy. Children will play around, will say, you don't want to do your work at home, you say you in pain because everybody knows you're supposed to have pain. So you got to use it a lot too. But don't ever overlook it when they tell you they're in pain, because they are in pain. They are in pain.
Yeah, and one of the stigma, because I've taken care of sickle cell patients before, especially the children, they are very, very resilient.
Yep.
Can you imagine going through that pain?
Ah.
But then when they bounce back, they just move on.
Yeah. And I think that has to do with the fact of that stage in growth where you have no fear, because it's like, okay, I'm not sick right now, I'm okay.
Yeah, and these people, they need to keep hydrated. Like we said,
Yes.
the blood,
Yes.
the sickle hemoglobin gets stuck and the blood is thick. So they have to make sure that they drink a lot of fluid to keep hydrated, because that will prevent them from getting into a crisis more often.
Think about a sickle in Africa and it's hot.
Jesus.
God is just a good God.
Yes, so
God
yeah,
is a good God.
yeah. But
Because
one of
if the sun ain't drying you up, so oh, it is tough. It is tough.
one of the things that I noticed too, especially in the hospital, or even in the clinic, is that these patients, you know, they're labeled, and there's a stigma because they are frequent flyers when they're in crisis, and sometimes people who don't know, they label them as drug seekers, you know,
Because they want to
and
pain medicine is the real pain medicine.
a
It's
sickle
not
patient.
Tylenol.
Yes.
No,
And
no,
then
no.
they know
It's not Tylenol.
pain medicine works for them.
Yes.
And so they will come and tell you, oh, please, this is the one that works for me. But sometimes, you know,
Yeah. People think, oh, that one's a
especially if it is
seeker.
if you
Yep.
don't know the patient,
Yep.
they will say, oh, they're coming to seeking for drugs.
Yep.
But
Yep.
they know their body, and they know which medication works for them,
Yep.
which pain medicine works for them.
Mm.
So
Well,
based on that, we will go into treatment for sickle cell anemia. There are a variety of treatments. You know, the aim is to prevent signs and symptoms of pneumonia, and also relieving the symptoms like pain.
yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
one of the medications that we use is what we call hydroxyurea with them. And this medication is a medication that causes the production of more normal hemoglobin in the patient.
Yep.
We also use folic acid,
Yep.
and also we have to make sure that they're vaccinated, especially with the pneumococcal vaccine, because they are
Yep.
prone to pneumonia.
Yes. In
And
dialysis, we
then,
have to give them erythropoietin,
okay,
and we have to give them Venofor and Macera.
wow,
All these
yeah,
are hemoglobin, red blood cell regeneration medications.
okay.
Mm.
Yes, and then another medication that we use is obviously antibiotics, because, like I said,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, they're prone to an infection. They can also do blood transfusion,
Yes.
pain medication, and then there's one cure that they can use, which is the stem cell transplantation. What is it's called hematopoietin stem cell transplantation. Whew, that's tongue
Yep.
time.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
where they do stem cell transplantation now. But think about it. Stem cell transplant, meaning that the parents have to decide to have another child, you know, and then they have to
Doesn't
retrieve.
have, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
So, you know, and there's a lot of risks involved.
So true.
Lots
So
and
true.
lots of risk involved. So it is not the most common.
Yeah. But we
So
pray
you
that
have to
one day stem cell will be like taking chloroquine for malaria.
right. So
One
hopefully
day.
they can come up. You know, I was reading, there was I don't know if it is evidence based, but there was a broadcast, I believe it was on 60 Minutes,
Okay.
that I think two or 3 years ago they showed it, and that they were doing this experiment, and this patient also went through it, but I don't know
Okay.
if I can do that. That it was a patient that had either HIV, and they used their blood and did some stuff with it. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not saying that, but there was an article that I read that was done, and this person was cured. Because one of the questions that was asked, well, if you transfer, if you use this person's blood, isn't the patient going to contract HIV? And they said, and no, they didn't. but I don't know if I can go through that.
You don't know if you can take that chance. But for see, I think about it when you go through sickle cell and you've had crisis upon crisis, anything to tell you will help you,
Anything will
you give
work.
it a
Yes,
try.
that's true. That
You
is
give it
so
a try.
true.
Sure. Anything but this pain that I have to live with, I'll give it a try. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why we say be thankful.
Yes.
Sometimes you think, oh, I'm hungry, I don't have no money, I'm so poor, I'm so this, I'm so that. Just be thankful. Just be thankful. You never know what somebody else is going through.
You never
You
know.
know, be thankful for where you find yourself because this life is something else. You know, if you're in your right frame of mind, be thankful. If you can wake up every morning, be thankful to be able to breathe that air and you don't need oxygen. Be thankful. A lot of times we are so ungrateful. We complain about the minute things when people are really going through things. But we think the little we have seen, oh, not easy. You know what easy is? You know what really not easy is? Do you know what some people have to live with and go through on a daily basis? And you think you got problem? You don't have nothing. You don't have nothing. And even the people who got a sickle cell, when somebody else has spin on a problem past the sickle cell, you will say, "Who we? Thank God I got my sickle cell," because everything is something to who's going through it. So just be thankful. Just be thankful where you find yourself. Where you find yourself. That was a food for thought. Well, we hope we have been able to enlighten your understanding about sickle cell today. We hope we have been able to find a place of compassion in you towards people who are battling the disease. And we hope we have been able to educate you so that you can take the necessary precautions to find out what you may or may not have and what you can and cannot do about it. Knowledge is power. Take that power and invest in yourself. It doesn't matter what you're going through or what you have been through. Thank God is always fabulous. So my co-host is struggling with the internet here. Let me get you back on stage.
I touched
And
something. I'm not home, so I'm so sorry about people. I'm so sorry. I touched something here.
yeah,
I'm not working from home. Yes, but I just wanted to go over this. How likely it is to inherit um, sickle cell. So if one parent has the sickle cell trait, okay, the chance of a child having sickle cell disease is 0%.
yeah,
And then there's a 50% chance that they could have the trait and 50% chance that they could not have the sickle cell trait or the disease.
mhm.
If both
That's with one
parents
parent.
have the sickle cell, that's yes. If both parents have the sickle cell trait, 25 so one 25% chance of a child having the disease, 50% chance of the child having the trait, and 25% chance of the
Of
child
not
not
having
having
it.
the trait or the disease.
Yep.
Yes. Now, if one parent has sickle cell disease and the other parent does not have the gene, none of the kids will have the disease. And then 100%, all of the kids will be carriers.
Yep.
That is, if one parent have the disease.
Yep.
If one parent has the disease and the other parent have the trait, then 50% of the children will have the disease and 50% will have the trait. Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
That's
Now,
why it's
if both
very
parents
important to
have the
find out
disease,
where you are with your partner.
it's very important. Yes.
Very, very
Yes.
important.
If both parents have the disease, 100% the kids will have the disease.
Now you own them will take
a
it.
given.
Yeah.
Yes.
So most time they advise people who both have the disease, don't even bring children into this business. Just
Don't even get to, yeah. If you're going to
adapt.
get together, then decide not to have children, or
Yeah,
if you
just
do,
adapt. Because
then
both of y'all will be battling your
just know
crisis.
that,
Both of y'all will be
yes,
battling your crisis.
and the kids.
Yep. 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 Genetic is real. It's
So
not
we
witch.
hope it is, yes. We hope we shared just a little bit of light on sickle cell disease and the trait. But what to take
And most
from
times
this,
when you do the test and you get the result, the doctor that's working with you will explain to you what's happening, all your possibility and probabilities. They will let you know, and then you can make an informed decision on how you're going to handle it going forward. The sad thing, sometimes we don't do the test. We just
most
do the
not
do.
sometimes, most times.
We just do the
Times
do, and
we
then we come
don't
up with
do
a
the
baby,
test.
and then now we're finding out.
And you know most, because especially if both parent carries the trait, they don't have any symptoms. So in your
Yes.
mind,
So they
you
just
think that
think
you are
all right.
normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then there's a 25% chance that you could have a child with the trait. And then 50% with the disease.
Yeah.
And then 50%
You know,
that
I
they
think
will
I
have.
want to go and check. I think I want to go and check my status.
But the great thing about the US, I don't know about other countries, but every child that is born in the US
Yeah, yes,
is
they check.
tested for
They're
sickle
tested.
cell before they leave the hospital.
Yeah.
So every parent will know before they leave that their child either carries the trait or, the disease or not. Most times, if you don't, they don't, there's no point in telling you because, unless if you ask.
Yeah.
Yes. But every child that is born in the US is screened, tested for sickle cell.
Yeah,
That's
I think
part of
I'll run my own
the
test just to
newborn,
find out.
lab.
It can't hurt, or they're gonna tell you have it, or you have the trait, or you don't have it. And but now you will know if you got it, got a disease itself, because you in the hospital will be closed. But just to find out if you got a trait, just for your knowing. Do your medical checkup. Don't be looking at me like, wow, I went check now. I'm 55 years old. It doesn't matter if you 100, go check, because you might have passed it on already. So the people that are coming after you can check themselves too. But it doesn't matter what you're going through.
Or what you have been through.
Thank God, it's fabulous.
It's fabulous.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Thank God It's Fabulous. Remember to share the broadcast. Remember to always hit us up on topics you want us to discuss, topics we want us to come and enlighten your understanding with. And we will sure be right here to do that for you. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.